so welcome to the channel. Come on in, have a seat. Let's get started with closing. The defense is already closing, and we're going to get started. Be sure as you come in to like the video and be sure to subscribe to my channel. I really appreciate it. I am April Showers, and welcome to the April TCG fam. All right, so let's get into it because we are a little late. So we're going to kind of go back to what we've missed so far. And I'm just going to quote it right from the horse's mouth. The horse's meaning the media person that I'm reading from that is inside of the courtroom live. So let's go. All right. So far what we've got so we've got Puffy in there. They said the courtroom is packed. So I heard that from other folks that were waiting outside this morning. Courtroom is packed. Oh, by the way, the daughters were there yesterday. What's up, John? How you doing this morning? So the daughters were there yesterday, John. So that's interesting. They have pictures of them coming out yesterday. They were teary-eyed and all of that. So I'm assuming everybody's probably there today because, closing the defense. So let's see. So, okay, so the judge confirmed that we have all the jurors. We'll start in 5 minutes. This was a while ago. And this is when Combs had been taken back. So they were just getting set up and everything. And let's see here. Okay, so the defense is this attorney that's speaking is Mark. So Mark Agnifilo, he's speaking. So I'm just gonna call him Mark. All right, so he got started opening with the trial from the evidence. What is it? It is drugs, personal use drugs. That's all it is. So he's not denying, okay, yes, we know Puffy was doing drugs, but that's personal use. It wasn't for no uh, distribution to sell or give to anyone. It was for Puffy's personal own personal use. All right. That and swingers, a lifestyle. Okay. But the prosecutors have charged one of the most serious statutes on the books. They call threesomes and drugs as RICO. So that's how they start. That's how they open. Okay. So let's move on. All right, it says, I want to thank you for your service to our country. I would love to speak to you for days, but it's Friday. I'm trying to be efficient. I have to cover a lot of ground, but I'll focus on the most important part, Sean Combs. All right, so good opening, Mark, right? Good opening. All right, so let's see. Sean Combs, as a self-made Black entrepreneur, he has built real businesses that are so outstanding that others create partnerships with them. We heard that from Derek Ferguson. It is hard to be Sean Combs. How many witnesses said they were moved, right? All witnesses were very impressed by Puffy. They look at him, they look up to him, right? All right, so, and I'm kind of ad-libbing a little bit, so, all right, forgive me. All right, so the assistants were, this is Mark, the assistants were moved by Sean Combs. It was like Harvard Business School. And that's how, remember the reality show, that's how Puffy ran his stuff, like a school. All right. What's up, Anna? Welcome. Patrick, what's up? Aaron, what's up? All right. So welcome to the channel, everybody. If you don't mind liking the video and be sure to subscribe if you haven't already done so. So we're going to keep on moving. So we got Mark from the defense. He is doing the closing. All right. So he went into talking about how the assistants were treated as if they were in a Harvard business school. They learned a lot from this man at the time, young man. All right. So then he moves into one of the witnesses that testified, Mia. He said, I'm not going to call her Mia because that's not her name. I'm going to call her the witness who testified as Mia. Remember Derek Ferguson from the Bronx? He said they were not hiring people like me from the Bronx. Okay, so he just covered two witnesses. Some of this stuff, some of these things may not be um, applicable But I'm just going down with what the horse's mouth is what he's saying. So, all right. So he says then there's something more to these businesses. Sometimes the real things in life are hard. No one remembers the easy days. These people grew. It was real. It was diversity. These days, DEI. Combs was doing it at 24. And yes, he was. Remember what Andre Harrell said about Puffy? He was so impressed. He couldn't believe what Puffy was doing. He was very impressed. And so that's how Puffy treated his business. That's why he was so successful at the young age of 24. Who would think that a 24-year-old could accomplish what he had accomplished at that time? So regardless of his personal lifestyle, the man is he's done a lot. So if you're 24 and you have all this power meaning you are so successful, you're going to run your stuff tight. If you don't run your ship tight, what happens? All right, so let's move on to what Mark is saying. All right, so, and they found it. Boxes of, okay, so it seems to be skipping, so it's not like they're not picking up every word. They can't do that. So it's just, so when I go from one topic to another, it's because I'm just reading as they're putting it in. Okay. All right. So he moves on, and this is what he says. And they found it. So they're on a different topic, seems to be the baby oil. Okay. So, and they found it. Boxes of Astroglide taken off the streets, and they got the baby oil and the personal use drugs. Okay, so he's talking about what the feds did. America is safer. 5 Valium pills. So he's being a little sarcastic. When you're doing work like that, we can't photograph you. That's evidence. All right. Again, I'm just reading it as it comes in. Um, what do? They wrap yellow online scene tape figuratively around his bedroom, around the hotel rooms he goes to with his girlfriends. Girlfriends now. Good word. Good, that's right. Because they're calling it something else on prosecution side. These were his girlfriends. There's a lot of crime scene tape. The crime scene tape is your private sex life. No one called 911. They called civil plaintiffs, lawyers. This case is about money. Cassie Ventura sues Combs for 30 million because he has 30 million. So because he has $30 million, if he doesn't have it, no civil lawsuit, no criminal case. And that's the truth. That's what I believe as well. Do y'all think Puffy would be on trial? Would this trial be going on if Puffy wasn't who he was, if he didn't have a lot of money? What do y'all think? Oh, you said your name is Laura, Anna. Okay, so nice to meet you, dear. All right, so welcome, welcome, welcome. All right, thank you all for being here. I really appreciate you. All right, so we're gonna move on. Let's see. John, you're so funny. Right? You may mess around and play, but you're gonna have to pay. Yeah, that's what I guess that's how they have it, right? Go ahead and play, but you're gonna have to pay us to play. You're not gonna play for free. All right, let's see what's going on here. All right, so he touches a little bit on he goes into some text messages that were read in court. He's talking about um All right. Cassie is smart. She flat won. She's got $30 million and he's in jail. You probably know that. The nice looking men behind him, they are US Marshals. They keep him safe. Cassie has won 100 to nothing. They tell you she's a victim. All right. Uh, this is a great modern love story. They didn't write these in the past because they didn't have these problems. He had 6 kids at the time. It's a relationship based on love. Cassie said she was young and insanely jealous. Insanely just jealous. Yes, she was. She didn't want him to talk to anybody. She was jealous of his child's mother, Kim. So she was very jealous. So what happens with these young, insanely, as they say, jealous, possessive women, or even older, some older women? Look at that Martin Lawrence movie with where the woman was like obsessed with him. She was stalking him. She didn't want him to talk to anybody. Just like some people get like that. So that's how Cassie was with Puffy based on the text. Anyway, let's get back to Mark, what Mark is saying. If you're in the jury room, so this is a great modern love story. Okay, if you're in the jury room and you don't want to go home, read their text messages at the time of the breakup, you'll cry. They were selfless with each other when it wasn't going to work for the original sin of their relationship. That okay, Gina wouldn't come here, but she's out there. Then Kim Porter passed away, and Mr. Combs said what he did for Cassie, it was the last straw. She made an adult choice and left, like she always could leave. Fatal attraction, oh my gosh, right? Which is the case in most toxic relationships, right? It's like fatal attraction. What happened? Nothing. So as an adult, she ended up leaving the relationship finally, which she should have done a long time ago. But she finally left the relationship. And what happened? Nothing. Matter of fact, she was actually still contacting when she first left. She was still contacting him. And remember, even when she got married and had moved on, she was still in contact with Puppy. So that's a very valid point. That's very, very important for these jurors to remember that piece. That's so important. Now you're talking about someone who supposedly made them do this. If you get out of the situation, are you going to go back? Are you going to keep contact? You've moved on with a new husband and moved on, kids, and you still trying to communicate with this man. All right. Pick a message from 2018 and read it. These two people loved each other. If racketeering conspiracy had an uh, it would be their relationship. If racketeering conspiracy had an opposite, it would be their relationship. They were their best selves when it came to sex. There were times that Sean Combs was proud. Stockholm Syndrome. All right. So on sex, they found each other. It's a beautiful thing. You won't find a single text where she says, I didn't like that sex. That is so important. That should be highlighted. He should say that 3 times to let those jurors understand. Not one time on all those texts did she say, I didn't like that sex. It was an 11-year relationship. The issues were jealousy and other women, but they match up when it comes to sex. Swingers, okay? There's so many swingers in this world that is not a federal crime. All right, so let's see. She's a woman who this is Mark. She's a woman who loves to have sex and is beautiful. She is unafraid. Let's talk about Kid Cudi. And I'm going to call him Kid because I may be mispronouncing his last name. He came in here. I'm not meaning to be judgy. Cudi comes here, and let's call him Kid. Kid comes here and says, Cassie played me. She did. She played them both. Not everyone can do that. She goes for it. She liked to Sean Combs as she had a relationship with another singer-songwriter under his nose. She's not afraid of him. So he's saying, look, she cheated on Puffy with another entertainer. Who, if you're so afraid, why would you cheat with another entertainer that's in the same circle? Who does that? If you didn't like why you was screaming and hollering to keep him to keep from laughing in your face. Yeah, Joe, I can't seem to pick up what you my mind is just not catching that. I'm sorry. I can't, I don't know what you're saying. I mean, I understand what you're saying, but I don't know who's that pertaining to. If you didn't like why was you screaming and hollering? Who was screaming and hollering to keep from laughing in your face? All right, so let's see what Mark is doing next. So Cassie gets a burner phone. Okay, so she got a burner phone. Finally, that's what you expect in a racketeering case. She's the one who got the burner. See, I'm saying this was her actions. She says she got the burner phone. So she's like, think about what Cassie did. She's the obsessed one. She's the one that's possessive. Puppy's got all this going on. Do you really think that he's worried about little old Cassie? Like, I understand that he was probably in love, but I mean, he's got baby mothers. You understand? He's got children with Kim. This is his like these. These are more serious types of relationships than Cassie. This was his uh fun, fun lifestyle, sexual stuff that probably other women probably wouldn't do. So anyway, she gets the burner phone. That's what you and he's being sarcastic again. That's what you expect in a racketeering case. Like she's the one who got the burner phone. She's the one who got the burner phone. That's what he says. The morning of December 22nd, 2021. The whole thing with kid and all that. She had two hotel rooms. Whoa, a room for the burner. So she was like kind of, and this is just a public thing that came out. Who knows who else she was, messing with. And maybe that's why Puffy didn't want her to go anywhere. Maybe he didn't trust her. For what reason, you know? All right. She was not going to tell anybody nothing. Let's talk racketeering. All right, let's talk, Mark. So Mark says the judge is going to give a legal charge later today, assuming the first one is the 2004 kidnapping of Capricorn Clark. Let's talk about her. She said, I wanted my life back. Okay. Capricorn Clark's parents passed away when she was young. I don't mean any disrespect. She told you, I'm happy she did. Others didn't tell you about their parents. She moves to the Bronx and meets Sean Puffy Combs. She goes super platonic. What? Platonic, excuse me. Um, I think she means she didn't want it to be platonic. She's out there, you could see it. She says, I had the biggest crush on you. I think we misused our dope chemistry. If she's kidnapped, why does she want to go back and work for him? She's getting her nails down with Mike G. He's going to be mad at me. She says she called 1440 and said, lock everyone in. She got the lie detector, and Mike B did too. How was she kidnapped if she went home every day? So that's a good point right there. How in the world was she kidnapped and she went home every day? Platonic. Um, is the government alleging five separate kidnappings? So he's saying what? When was she kidnapped? She went home every day. Polly drove her home. Door to door kidnapping? The SDNY is charging this as kidnapping. And then he laughs. Ha 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 ha. It's not a kidnapping. All right, so let's see. All right, John, you following with me? Y'all following it with me? I think, let me see. John, I think I read everybody off. You there with me? Okay. Maybe I'm speaking too much into it because I'm just like I'm trying to act out this with you. I'm trying to act it out as if I'm Mark. So forgive me if I'm speaking loud and all that. I'm getting too emotional about it. I can't help it. Yeah, I can't help it. So I'm a natural actress, so forgive me. I'm just getting into it, trying to make it real. I'm trying to have us inside of the courtroom. That's what I'm trying to do. Pretend that we are in the courtroom. I'm just going to pull up another live update. I think this one is, I think that's all that we have right now. And someone asked under this one of his readings, they said, why is they asked why did he settle so quickly with Cassie? Well, all this stuff which you wanted to be out, Puppy was trying to be discreet about his personal stuff. Cassie knows all his personal swinging lifestyle, baby oil, hiring the male escorts to be in the situation with them. Would you want all that to get out of your puppy or anybody? That's your personal, that's some personal real stuff, right? So of course he settled quickly. I mean, if you have the money, you would. If you're Puffy, this is hip hop. This is not Hollywood. Well, it's Hollywood, but it's hip hop Hollywood, right? And Hollywood is not so open to certain things. All right, John. All right, so what you're saying is I need to prepare myself a little better. That's what you're saying, John. All right, so let me see if I can get a little better with this. Because John said we need to read ahead and then report what they said, maybe. All right, thank you, John. I got you. All right, let's see. Wow. Now, we're not, it doesn't, it's not up to date here, but evidently this, now he's like me. He says he calls Ventura a gangster, Cassie, a gangster. Because she acted as a gangster, didn't she? Cassie was, shoot, they better look into her with Kim Porter. For real, they better look into that. Because this girl was obsessed with Puffy. Boy, let me make sure I've got it on. Yeah, I've got it on Do Not Disturb. I don't know how that call came in. Sorry about that. All right, so I'm just going to read a little bit of this because it seems like this one is a little behind. So I'm just going to touch bases on now. Some of this we may have touched on with the other person, but it's some things in here that were not pointed out that Mark was had stated. By the way, the kidnapping is they're talking about that 2004 kidnapping, alleged kidnapping. Y'all, we are in 2025. These people are bringing up 2004, 2009 situations. Like, this is crazy. And see, the kidnapping, the reason that they are trying to prove that is because I think, if I'm not mistaken, that's that's how they're tying in one of these federal charges, like the kidnapping, the arson. That's part of these tying it with the federal charges, with the big charges. All right, so this is what he tells the jury. Now this is speaking on Capricorn Clark. I have no doubt she was unsettled, but she was not kidnapped. So he's not painting Puffy to be this angel. He's not saying no, she didn't go through anything or they didn't go through anything. Oh yeah, he was hard on everybody. But no, kidnapped she was not. She went home every day. How was she kidnapped? All right, so remember when Puffy did A Rising in the Sun? I don't know if you all saw that. Um, when he played the son with Claire Huxtable, Felicia Rashad. She's always going to be Claire Huxtable to me. But yeah, so this they said this is Mark says that okay. Oh, she took Capricorn Clark took a lie detector test. All right, so he said he's starring on Broadway. He is involved in the middle of a very significant voter drive campaign called Vote or Die. He is running all these companies. Do you think he's waiting on the edge of his seat? How's that lie detector test coming back? I can't wait to see if she passes, Mark said. He couldn't care less. He had nothing to do with it. So he wasn't even worried about that lie detector test. All right, so let's see. Okay, we're just waiting on some updates. So how's everybody's morning going so far? The societal norm that most everyone would agree with is no means no. And no matter the circumstances, once a woman says no, everything after that is against her will. That is very true. Yep, that's true. I completely agree with that for sure. But you have to say no, right? You have to say no to so the person can know it's no. If you don't say no, if you don't say no or I don't want this or no, stop, then later on you can't cry wolf, wolf. Okay, we're just waiting for more updates. How's everybody's morning? I hope everybody's having a great morning, a great day. It's Friday. We're just waiting for some more updates. Okay, let's see. Yeah, if the jury doesn't like anyone, any one of the witnesses, that's a positive for Puff. Do you think that's a situation um, in any of these cases? You think that the something one of the females gave a bad impression on the juror, like jury, like they wouldn't like her or something? Okay, so the defense, what Mark is doing still, he's trying to cast out this kidnapping allegation with the Capricorn Clark situation. So they're talking about when she said that Puffy came to her home with a gun and brought her to rapper Kid's house in December 2011. Um, oh my goodness, he did not say this. He says Clark was probably so honored that Combs finally came to her house for the first time. If he asked her to take a trip to the moon, she'd go, and he knows that. He doesn't need a gun. And that's what I'm saying. That's like a form of like starstruck, even though she was his so-called assistant, but these people go really overboard. Like there's no way as an assistant I'm gonna be working with you while you're taking a poop. You know what I'm saying? These people really were obsessed. Right. Yep. So John says some jurors might be judgmental about the women's choices. Right. Yeah, because as adults, we have to be accountable for the decisions that we make. So whether they're bad decisions, whether somebody's taking advantage of us, whether, whatever the case may be, at a certain point, we have to be accountable for our choices. As women too, we have to be accountable for our choices, especially when we have the freedom to choose. We have the freedom to choose what we want and who is around us and where we go. So we have to be held accountable. So Mark points out that Kid Cudi testified that Clark didn't mention a gun when she called him that day. Had Capricorn said gun, Kid would have remembered gun. You're not gonna forget a gun. He said guns is one of the fear words in our language. That's a really good point. Why didn't she say that? I mean, not she, but why didn't he say that? He doesn't remember Capricorn mentioning a gun. So that's a really good point to bring up to the jury. And Kid did not mention a gun to the responding police officer. Now, if somebody's doing something wrong and it involves a gun, you will definitely remember the gun. If not anything else, you're going to remember the gun. So he is completely right about that. That's a good point to bring to the jury. And the officer wrote this incident up as a trespass. Trespass. So whatever the officer was told, he wrote it up as a trespass. And not in there is it mention a gun from Kid's statement. All right, so we're just looking for some more updates. Something like a pimp. Yeah, pimps, they have the reputation of seeming to be able to gain certain type of control over women. You're right. Those women be doing all that for the pimp. And from what I heard, the pimp gets all the money. And that's almost like an obsession, right? The females have an obsession with these people. Like that you're not the only female. You know that it's not like from my understanding, they're nice to you. They're not nice to you. You know that there's other female, and you're just like at the place in your life where you would do anything to make somebody happy. See, and and I like how Mark is saying he's not trying to paint Puffy as this innocent person that didn't um have anything to do with certain things that were brought out. He's just showing how, okay, yes, this happened, but this was this way, not the way that they're saying it. Because he says, and this is in regards to Capricorn Clark, he says, she doesn't want to say, I went there on my own volition. I'm not saying Sean Combs didn't go there. He wanted to fight him. Fine. Mother, Mother Flanker, Combs is not a coward. He's ready to fight. At the risk of being sexist, they are men. They fight. And especially when you're from the place that Puffy's from, and when you're trying to uphold this image that you're trying to uphold, and how guys that try to be, how they are. So, and this is a person, and you're like Puffy, and you find out that your little side chick is under your nose messing with, just like any man when he finds out that a female is cheating. Like some people just handle things differently. So Mark is pretty much like normalizing the situation. Like, you know, this is the way it is because and that's his job. The prosecution, they take it and make it into oh, it was a kidnapping, trespass, arson, tried to kill somebody, all this stuff. And then he's like, "What? You find out that your female's cheating. You go and approach the person and you want to fight them because they got words that they brought to you. You got words for them, and it could escalate to a big fight, which happens every day. All right, so he's moved on to now the topic of the Porsche, and Puffy also says, um, or not Puffy, Mark says, we're going to have a good old-fashioned 8 in the morning Hollywood Hills John Wayne fight. The Porsche, not his style. There's no evidence. What else would do it? Who else would do it? Not evidence. Burning a car is cowardice. Be a man and fight him. So he's saying that's against Puffy's style, like go behind the back and do some sneaky stuff. Like he's saying, no, Puffy was right there, like, and you know what? I'm gonna tell you, that's like the most people, most tough guys that like that's honestly that's kind of womanly. You know how women like women are known to, not all women, but a lot of women, a lot of cases where people go and vandalize men cars. Like there are so many like I used to know this insurance adjuster, right? And a lot of their cases were where they would go and assess the damages to these guys' cars where they are females because the females found out they were cheating and they would go and vandalize the car. Puff did run with wolves. So yeah, he's talking about the car. He's talking about um, there's no evidence, as you know, even the investigator said that there was no evidence of Puffy having anything to do with the car, the burning of the car, the arson, which is something that the prosecution needs because the arson is something is tying it to again one of the federal crimes. Oh, so his take on it. So the way that the picture that he's painted as far as Mark. So he's saying to the jury, Capricorn Clark, so that she won't seem like she was in on the going there to approach the kid guy in regards to this situation. So she brings up, oh, I was forced to go there with a gun, which why would it, to me, it really doesn't make sense, honestly. Um, so she's just, it's like she used that to seem innocent in the situation. So again, he's stressing he's going to fight him. He's not going to blow up his car. Okay, and then he points out that um, the DNA profile that they did get from the arson, the crime scene was a female. So that's an important thing to point out in closing as well. What now? What are you forced by Puff? What was forced by Puff? So John, so okay, so you said a lot of people did get unsubscribed around Puff, and then you said forced by Puff or someone else. So are you saying that you think Puffy had something to do with those unsubscribing stuff? The people unsubscribing? You think Puffy had something to do with all that? And you know what? Let me say this. I don't know Puffy on a personal level. That man could have something to do with a whole lot of stuff. But again, in the court of law, this stuff has to be proven. Oh, was she forced by Puff or one of his staff? I wonder why this is not updating. Oh, you're saying if his staff was involved, that makes it RICO. Okay, but check this out. So, John, if I'm okay, so say I have me and four of my friends. We're out to dinner, right? And I get a call from my boyfriend, right? And or I get a call from someone else and they say, "Hey, your boyfriend is we just saw him at the movies with another female," right? So me and my friends, we look into it and I find out at that dinner table, I find out that this man has been cheating on me for the last 2 years with this woman. And he is at the movies right now with this woman. So I'm like crying. I'm like, oh my goodness, I can't believe it. I can't believe this is happening. Now, we leave the restaurant and I'm just hurt and I'm just like, I'll never speak to him again. I'm going home. That is, if my friends go to that movie theater and do whatever they do, that has nothing to do with me. I did not force, you know what I'm saying? So sometimes people that have your back, sometimes people that is with you or down with you, sometimes they act like that. They may take it upon themselves and do things that they feel is protecting you or having your back. So some stuff I'm sure like a lot of the stuff that these assistants did as well as bodyguards and stuff, I don't think he said, go do this. I think if he like sat around and said, okay, I want you to do this, I want you to do this, I want you to order that would be different. But I think that some of this stuff was done on their own. So he really didn't, he's not making these people or giving them like um roles. You know what I'm saying? Like that's how prosecution's trying to make it. Yeah, but look at who the employees were. The employees, like these were, and that's why I think he picked his employees, just like a lot of stars probably. I think that they pick the employees based on like when you're interviewed, when they interview these people, they want someone who's starstruck. Remember how they said that they told one of the assistants, like, this is Puffy's world. You know what I'm saying? So they want someone. So if I go to an interview at that long time ago, if I go into the interview trying to be an assistant and they're like saying, this is his world. If they don't feel like I am starstruck and I'm gonna treat him like he's some king god, then I'm probably not going to get the job. These people were starstruck. These people almost obsessed with Diddy. So it's like they picked people who probably would just go above and beyond the call of duty. They pick people who to be employed and work for him. But at the same time, these none of this stuff is what employees are known to do. Just like the assistant females, it seems like all of the assistant females had personal relationships with Puffy. That's not what an employee's supposed to do, but that's what they did. So, hi, hi G, what's up? How you doing this morning? Yeah, it's gonna be interesting. That's what she said. That's what she said, John. So that's why it's in the court, and it's like his word, their word. So we don't really know what was said. He told her to get in the car. We are going to do X, Y, and boom to this car to his girlfriend so I could see it. Well, now was that statement, did someone say he said that, or did it come out in text form? You know what I'm saying? Gee, my morning's going good. We're trying to keep up with the closing arguments in the Puffy trial for the defense is now giving their closing arguments. Are you following it? You know what, John, you're right. That's something that we need to get into later because it's like that's a whole another thing. Because sometimes I will say, like, I do believe that sometimes power can go to your head, and we don't know what people are capable of. So that's something that's probably going to be explored and investigated further as far as the Tupac situation because of what Keefe D said. And I'm going to write that down because I want to look into that further because because of this that's been kind of pushed to the side. We haven't heard anything about that. I understand that, G. Yeah, I took me a little break too. It's good to just, I mean, I'm just like, most court proceedings, I'm like, I don't know. I'm a little obsessed with court proceedings anyway. Like following people's court trials, I'm a little obsessed with it. But and then I'm like, I'm thinking I'm like Miss Entertainment Tonight sometimes. So so if it's a celebrity court hearing, I'm gonna follow it to the T. It will tell you a lot about Puff if it's true. Case is pending. Yeah, I definitely want to go look into that. I haven't really been able to study that at all. And I was at first because I was hearing some stuff when I first was hearing about that. I was like, oh, you know what I'm saying? So yeah, I definitely want to follow that and see what's been said so far in detail. So I'm definitely gonna look into that as well. That's something that we can definitely cover. And I think that's coming out of Vegas, that case, right? Or am I thinking of, I might be thinking of OJ Simpson's case. I'll find out. Yeah, that right there, that will put Puff in a whole different type. That's a whole different situation. You're talking about possible, that's a whole different situation. Like right there. Forget the swinging and the menage a trois and the hiring the escorts and the, domestic violence with the girl. Forget all that stuff. That right there is a whole different situation. Yeah, that's a whole different situation. But again, if it's someone's word, it has to be proven. Just can't go by someone's word. I don't know why this one is not updating. And this is the one that's giving more details, but it's not updating. Last post was 29 minutes ago on here. Let me go come out and go back in. Let's see if that'll do it. John, me too. Me too. I'm telling you, when I was younger, I really thought that I was like Entertainment Tonight. Yeah. Did you follow the Young Thug trial Yeah, and you know what? It's always been that rumor has always been there. So they should have um that should have been investigated back then because that rumor, if you remember, that's been a rumor since it happened that he had something to do with Tupac's situation. Baby Lane. All right, so there was an objection by the prosecution, It says, they said, I did not want to object, but he asked the jury to ask why the prosecutors charged as they did. We need a curative instruction after the break. He told the jury that that's why we haven't seen anything updated because they were on break, that the Intercontinental was a misdemeanor, curative instruction. And then they said he told jury Mr. Combs is charged with arson. That is not the case. It is a RICO predicate. And then the judge looks at Mark and says, Mr. Agnifilo. And then Mark says, I was going to get to RICO on the rest. It's fair comment. And then judge said, you said, why charge a kidnapping? You can ask that. Who, Baby Lane? So Baby Lane is the alleged unsubscriber. I like the words you choose to use. Um, what? You talking about Orlando Anderson? That's who they call. Oh, okay. This guy's young. What, you know what? He's not young. He just looks really young. Oh, he passed away. He's passed 1998. What? Okay. Well, Orlando Tiv or top Orlando, let's see, was an American gang member. Oh, so he was a gang member suspected in the unsubscribing of Tupac Shakur. Anderson belonged to the California-based gang known as Southside Compton Crips. Detective Tim Brennan of the Compton Police Department filed an affidavit naming Anderson as a suspect. Oh, I remember that detective's name. He denied involvement and was never charged. He was never charged. What do you mean he felt like he lived? Oh, so Keefe D is his uncle. Dwayne Keefe was sorry about that. So I'm assuming that Keefe D gave all this information. Wow, all this time, and they charged somebody with the Keefe D guy last September. I mean, 2023, September 2023. All this time. I'll say this. Now, if that situation had anything to do with Puffy, then there's nothing I would put past someone. There's nothing, if he had anything to do with that at all, like, it's nothing I would put past anybody that would have something to do with that. Because honestly, if you're capable of having something to do with someone's unsubscribing, you really are capable of anything. Like, you have no compassion for the human race. So why do you think all this time, Keefy D, why do you think he would spill his guts about and say Puff? Why, say if the alleged involvement of Puff, why would he do that? I really want to go and look at that. That's pretty interesting. That's crazy. Oh, maybe he was trying to get some, maybe they gave him a deal or something. I wonder why he would say those things, say that, whether it be true or not, why he would implicate someone else as well. They jammed him up and wasn't supposed to use the confession. So PPD was interviewed by Vlad. Wait, so PPD confessed when he was out? He wasn't arrested? He wasn't in prison when he confessed to that? Oh, but he's in prison now, right? PPD? So if he wasn't in prison, why would he be talking on Vlad about that? That's, you know what I'm saying? Why would he be spilling anything about that on um doing an interview? That don't make sense. Yeah, he's in prison. So you mean to tell me, okay, so that's where Vegas is hot. So you mean to tell me he went on Vlad before he went to prison and said all this stuff? I gotta watch that. That's gonna be interesting right there. And they haven't had his trial. Now that's a trial I can't wait for. Uh, this- It was postponed nearly a year, his trial, pushed to 2026 after new evidence emerges. So see, if it comes out that Puffy had anything to do with this case really doesn't matter. What do you mean move sway? All right, let's see. You know what? A lot of criminals do some weird things. It's like sometimes I wonder if criminals just want to be found out because they be talking to people, saying stuff. Like if this man actually, if he was not in prison and he sat there and did an interview and said stuff, like that's really stupid. Right. I know that. I would not be, if there was an alleged crime and I had anything to do with it, you're not going to find me nowhere around and I'm not going to speak of it. Who told him he had immunity? You can't have immunity for an unsubscription. Oh, but but why so he's charged with it. So I'm assuming that KPD is saying that he had something to do with it, but he didn't actually perform the unsubscribing. The baby Lane, I'm assuming is who he's saying performed the unsubscribing. And so KPD must have had something to do with it. And everyone that was in the car is unsubscribed. So the jury is still on break. All right, so just to give a recap of what has happened so far this morning, as far as Mark's closing. Um, so Mark characterized this trial as two different trials, the trial as told by the witnesses, text messages, and videos, and the trial as told by the mouth of the prosecutors, which Mark described as the exaggerated trial and not the real trial. Mark added that the evidence instead shows a swinger's lifestyle and then went on to praise Combs' achievements in his business and highlighted his character. All right, then he moves on to the domestic violence. The main issue that Cassie, one of Combs' former girlfriends, and an accuser who testified at trial was the domestic violence in their relationship. We own the domestic violence, Mark said. Despite the violence, Mark called Combs and Ventura's relationship a great modern love story and said that this case isn't about crime, it's about money. Cassie sued Combs for $30 million because Combs has $30 million. Remember, Ventura has testified the suit was settled for $20 million. Then he moves on to the kidnapping dispute. Mark recalled Capricorn Clark's testimony about the lie detector testing, which prosecutors characterized as an alleged kidnapping and charged as an underlying act for the racketeering conspiracy charge. Clark, he said, wasn't kidnapped to take a lie detector test and said Combs had nothing to do with it due to being busy working at the time. Then he went on to talk about the arson. There's no evidence that Combs had anything to do with setting fire to kids' Porsche. He also said the investigation into the arson was a terrible investigation and underscored the investigators' testimony that a partial DNA profile from the scene was consistent with a female. And then he says, remember, Kid Cudi testified his Porsche was set on fire with a Molotov cocktail in January 2012 after Combs learned in late 2011 that Kid Cudi and Cassie Ventura were dating. Um, okay, no, the person writing this put in the remember. All right, so then Mark moves on. Um, paying the said Combs paying the security guard in the at the International Hotel following the 2016 incident involving Ventura was about preventing bad publicity and not a law enforcement investigation. So he didn't want that to be bad, which is what a lot of people do when they do something. They try to, like just like the elevator incident with Jay-Z and Beyonce and Solange. They thought that they had bought that footage, but it was not, it was still out there. Um, it did not, it was not a bribe, but it was not a bribe under California law, Mark said, because Combs wasn't trying to hinder a police investigation. The police, he added, were nowhere near the situation at the hotel at that time. So at that time, they can't say it was a bribe because at that time it was no investigation. That happened in 2016. So yeah, that's a good point right there. So that's what he's covered so far. That's like a little recap of what he's covered so far, Mark. All six of Puffy's adult children are in attendance. The three sons and three daughters are seated in the second row behind him. Also, there are his mother and his sister. Also, Fahim Muhammad, who is Combs' security chief, who prosecutors said is part of the alleged conspiracy, is seated with Combs' family. Fahim Muhammad. So, John, do you know who was in that car? Did they bring out who was in that car with Pop? So they're on a 15-minute break, so they should be back shortly. Let's see. Let's look that up. Oh, okay. So now I remember. John, look, I remember now. I'm reading this. I remember he had gotten into the fight in that lobby. Okay, so it says nearly 2 hours after Tupac Shakur got into the fight at the MGM lobby with Orlando Anderson, he would later be um, scotted, I'll say. At around 11 p.m., the rapper and Suge Knight were driving down the strip. That's right. Suge Knight was in that car. What do you mean? Who was in? What when you say uh, Von Zippo was the middleman? Yeah, but what about Suge Knight? Suge Knight was in the car too. So you saying four other people were in the car? Okay, it says. Oh, you're talking about the white Cadillac is what the other party was in. I'm assuming. Tupac and Suge Knight were riding in the black BMW on September 7, 1996, when Tupac was in the passenger. So he was in the passenger seat. Boy, when that trial starts, that is going to be major when that trial starts next year. Boy, 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 that is going to be major. And that's going to be televised. That's not a federal hearing, right? So that's going to be televised. What the world? It says PPD or a wire around. Um, well, this was someone else in an interview wore a wire around Zip. Well, this is going to be good. This is there's a lot of information. You know what? I don't watch Vlad much. Um, hmm. So the alleged $1 million check is what he allegedly kept. And I'm assuming that they're saying the $1 million check is from Puffy. I'm assuming, right? Allegedly. What I don't understand is why in the world, I mean, why would TBD go on an interview and say that if he wasn't, was he already charged with it and he was just, waiting for something? Why would he say that in an interview? I don't understand. That doesn't make sense. That part just doesn't connect. I just don't understand. Why would he say that in an interview? Like as if, Oh, no, no, no. It says Kiki claimed in a police interview months earlier that Puffy had offered him 1 million to unsubscribe. Oh, unsubscribe both Suge Knight and Tupac at the height of Bad Boy's beef with Death Row Records. But I don't understand why he would say that on Vlad. But again, I have to go back. I have to watch the interview with Vlad. Vlad brought up to KPD that there's a rumor that Eric Von Zip took 1 million that Diddy gave him to give to KPD after Tupac was unsubscribed. Vlad added to that TK Kirkland, who was living with Zip, confirmed. Ooh, this is gonna be good. I gotta watch that KPD. I'm watching that KPD interview today. Oh, so when he did the interview, he was thinking he had immunity, but that was in immunity in LA. Oh, they tricked him. And isn't immunity immunity? That's that is crazy. If that's how that went, if they said he had immunity, but he had immunity in one state, but didn't have, wow, immunity is immunity. Let's see if their break is over. All right, so the judge is back on the bench. All right, so they're back in the courtroom. Let's see what's going on. All right, so what they're discussing, the jury is not back. The judge is back on. They're trying to figure out whatever was objected by the prosecution as to what Mark stated. So it says the judge asked, I'm assuming the prosecution, do you have proposed language? So they got to basically, when the jury comes in, they're going to have to give them some instruction because of something Mark is a conflict that with something that Mark said. So prosecutors say yes. Ms. Steiner has emailed the defense our proposed curative instructions, and it's Mr. So the judge says to Mark, those three were grossly improper. Just to be blunt about it, the jury is not to speculate about the charge. So that's the situation with that. And then judge says, I will tell them it would be improper for you to consider that. You are to disregard those comments. And then Shapiro says, we did not object yesterday since you called out Mark. The judge says, I didn't call out anything. There was an objection. So things are getting a little heated. Heated in the courtroom. John, you said mistrial. All right, so then Shapiro then says Miss Slavic, which is the prosecutors from yesterday that did her closing, she told the jury there might have been guns at the freak-offs. There's no evidence of that. It was outrageous. No one is doing anything improper. And then the judge says, you made no record yesterday. Here, I'm not giving the multiple instructions, just one. Uh-oh, the judge being unfair now. Come on. But yeah, the defense should have brought that up yesterday. Shapiro, you should have brought it up yesterday. Humpty Dumpty will pardon him anyway. You know what? I don't know. I think if I don't know about that. I don't think I don't think Humpty Dumpty is trying to uh, be on anybody's side right now. He don't give a crap about fitting in or getting anybody. I don't think he gives a crap right now. He's in his own mind, his own world. Humpty Dumpty's like me and like me not. I'm here, and I don't think he would. I don't know about that. Okay. So Slavic did say that yesterday. So yeah, they should have pointed that out. They should have objected. You know what? They said that I thought you weren't supposed to object during closing. Yeah, I thought you weren't supposed to. I guess that's why the defense maybe didn't object yesterday because they said it's like I think you can object, but I think that they said you're not supposed to object during the closing. But I'm assuming if you try to ad lib and add stuff, that's not because closing is for the facts that have come out in the trial. They just did what? No, no, no. I mean, yesterday the defense. You know what I'm saying? When the prosecution said that about when they brought up that guns that there might have been guns at the freak offs and that was no there was no evidence of that. The defense should have objected yesterday to that. That's what the judge is saying. Like you didn't make no record of that yesterday. So they're objecting to it now because the prosecutors have objected to what um, the defense have said today, have told the jurors. It's a heated, it's a heated situation right now. Boy, judges have a hard job. You think so? I don't know. So if it's pretty liberal, then no one should be able to object because the jury, based on their notes, based on the trial, they should be able to tell what's true and what's not at that point. So they know if somebody's adding information or, I don't think there should be anybody should be able to object during closing. Because if you get up there and during closing and say something that's not true, that didn't come out in the trial, then you're really looking like a liar anyway. Right. Yep, get both sides straight. But I wouldn't, I don't, if I was, were doing my closing, I would not fabricate anything. I wouldn't, as like add things that's not true, that's vital, because it just makes you uncredible. You know what I'm saying? They can't be going this slow. Okay, so Mark is now, I'm assuming, let's see, he's speaking to, um, really? Your mom's from Valdosta? She was born there? All right, so they've resumed. Okay, so Marx comes out with, now let's talk about Mia. She loved working for Mr. Combs. She was not, this was not forced labor. And then he goes on to point out, remember the birthday video we showed up? She was bubbly, popping. That's the real her. You are free to conclude she put on an act here. If Mr. Combs felt it was improper, he would not threaten to tell Cassie it was consensual. Are you from Georgia, John? Or you grew up in a different place? You don't have to say it if you don't feel comfortable. That's cool. I know, nobody wants to put their business all out on the internet. You said you're from that east side, and I ain't leaving. You mean east side of Georgia or east side as in the East Coast? All right, let's see. They were moving pretty quickly with the responses earlier. Oh, Indianapolis. That's right. You did say that yesterday. Indiana. So, when Mia says it was not consensual, she is telling the truth. There was no unwanted sexual conduct. Mia's feeling were not platonic. Mr. Steele questioned her about these wonderful pictures and slogans. Effusive, not just a job. Mark says this is a demonstrative. You can't take it into the jury room. Consider the scrapbook she made. I'm going to read it to you. So then he proceeds, Happy 45th birthday, Puff. This is from 1991 to 1999. I hope it stirs up nostalgic feelings, how great you've become. She loved you. You can't fake that. That's real. Don't lose sight of that. It's not just business. He gives people a home. Look at this picture. Think of a word that comes to mind. Joy. And the picture is a photo of staff. So he says joy. There's KK, D-Rock, Fahim. See, the thing is, let me say this. Indiana, no, I didn't. I've never been there. My cousin, she's from there. They were stationed there when they were younger. And the company I used to work for, we opened a hub there in Indiana, and it was so pretty. Like it was by the water, sort of like a downtown area by the water. And a lot of us went down there to train. It's a pretty small hub, but yeah. But I've never been there, no. I will say this as far as like the defense, I think that the defense should have um, done a little bit more when it was their turn as far as witnesses to bring in this side of Puff that they're portraying right now, that they're trying to portray to the jury, to bring in the more like human side, the Puffy that people appreciated. Because honestly, like when people think like when they this video of the from the 2016 thing, it's just like running through people's mind, and that's what people have held on to. So they a lot of people are looking at Puffy as a monster. So, that's the only thing with the defense. I think they should have, like what they're saying right now, I think they should have brought more of this uh the end of last week or earlier this week before closing arguments. Like probably let maybe a family member testify, talk about how he grew up, things that he did, as a kid. What did he do at Howard? What nice, great things that he accomplished at Howard? What did he do for people? Things that he did for people on a personal basis that no one knows about. How did he give back to his community? Because I'm sure he's done some great things for people. And then maybe there wasn't much that they can, who knows? I don't know. Because like I said, I don't know him on a personal basis, but that's what I would have done if I was the defense. I would have brought out things that he did for his community, how he gave back to people, how he had compassion for people, and how he cared about people. Not just, it wasn't just all business and this other, sexual lifestyle and all that. Yeah, I have so many of these little reading glasses, and I can read without them. I can read without them, but it's just easier at certain times, especially like looking at these. It's just easier to these words. It's easier to see the smaller writing. So, and that's probably, I would say, probably the last 5 years I've been using like the reading glasses. Yeah, this one is way behind. This one here. So Mark says, he created a remarkably special place. He moved people in their hearts and souls. When Mia is told she being fired, that she is going to leave that's the special place, Mia, she says, my life is over. KK, OMG, what the flank? Mia, that's not funny. So she says, my life is over when she's told that she, is being fired. And then Mark says, racketeering, co-conspirator, KK writes, Mia, answer your phone or I'm going to call your parents. The last thing she wanted to do was leave. And it's forced labor? Let's turn to drug distribution. The U.S. said personal. So I don't like he just kind of went through that. He went through that a little too quick with the Mia situation. But I guess that was important for him to point out, like, okay, when she was told she was fired, this is her response. She was like, oh, my life is over because she didn't want to be fired. So a person that's forcing labor, why would you want to stay, keep working? Why would you be heartbroken when you're being fired? So that's correct. That was a good point. All right, so the U.S. said that personal use is a distraction. All right, let me see what he's about to say about the drug distribution. He's moving kind of quick, isn't he? I can't believe the prosecution's closing arguments were all day yesterday. But I guess that's their thing because they're the ones who has to prove the case. So you think it's from staring at screens? They said that as you get older, your like they said when you turn 30, your muscles, your eye muscles, they become weaker. So yeah, I guess if you're the more you stare at things and then the muscles becoming weaker, some people do end up needing to have at least reading glasses. I remember that. Yeah, I remember that event where all those people were trampled over. I remember that. That was, yeah, and I think that's the result of a young person he was out there promoting and had no idea how many people was going to show up at that venue. Are those your words or are you reading that somewhere? Because the thing is, these people did not, they were not around, she was not around Puffy to the point where, like, when she was away from her victimizer. You mean her employer? See, that's where people see things a little different. So some look at him, her victimizer. I see him as her employer that she was obsessed with. John, I don't think you like Puffy too tough. Well, that's a good rebuttal. Excuse me. And Mia is the one that what, or was it Mia or Jane that was rumored to be 50 Cent's baby's mom? One of them, Mia or Jane. I think it was Mia, if I'm not mistaken. So Mark says Mia testified with a false persona in court. He said the bubbly person in the birthday video that the jury watched is Mia's true personality, and Mia falsely testified that Combs sexually assaulted her, according to, I don't know if I was supposed to say that, allegedly, according to Agnifilio. Agnifilo. Yeah, I don't think I was supposed to say that. So I'm going to recant that statement. Yeah. So essayed her. Yeah, that's how a lot of people feel. Once they saw that video, they're like, that's it. They didn't even want to hear it. This trial means nothing to a lot of people. A lot of people just wrote him off like right there. Because, and that's, that's his own fault. You cannot go around putting your hands on people and thinking that you can, there's no excuse for domestic violence. So that is his own fault. And that's why he's had to hire these high-priced attorneys to try to pretty much uh, make himself look different and look in a different look be looked at in a different light by these all the people that's looking at him like that person in that hotel lobby. And you can't change people, everybody saw it. So Cassie said, so this is Mark saying, Cassie said he was a drug addict. How is he supposed to get them, grow his own Xanax? Did he have drugs? Yes. They found it in his house. Was he using his enterprise to distribute drugs? No. You're going to have to think through this. And it seems like every time, even with the Young Thug case, they try to make like when they say enterprise, they're saying their record labels were an enterprise. You can't make the record label into an enterprise, but not a RICO case. My stomach is growling. Forgive me. Yeah, he was definitely overcharged for sure. Oops. Can you hear me okay? I had the other device on, making sure I can hear. Yeah, for sure he was overcharged. which is why they cut those um, charges yesterday or the other day. And they didn't cut the charges, they just trimmed them. I'm gonna say trimmed them. But this is only the beginning. This Puppy's case, regardless of which way this goes, what happens, this is the beginning of a huge cycle. Okay, thank you. A huge cycle that's about to happen, like with the Fat Joe, Tyler Perry. There's going to be so many different things that, different cases that are about to come out. And then Puffy also has to, like after this, he still has lawsuits that he has to face. Lots of lawsuits. So I will say, one thing to the people that only sees him as that person in that lobby, um, like he's definitely having to pay for his actions. Like he had to pay her $20 million. And I'm telling you, if it wasn't for that video, a lot of this wouldn't be happening. That video cost a lot. And the 20 million is just the beginning of what he is having to pay. He's got legal fees. He's got to pay for probably other people's legal fees. Oh my goodness. He's he's definitely paying for his actions. And some people, even including myself, no amount of money is equivalent to what he did. You know what I'm saying? Right, right. The other swinger, right? He should have followed Russell. Yep, the other swinger. And see, that's who was known for having the him and Kimura were allegedly known for having the swinging lifestyle. I never thought Puffy had that type of lifestyle. I never imagined it until this stuff hit, or I would have never imagined it. All right, let's see. Okay, so let's see. Let me catch up. All right, so Mark says, now this is in regards to the distribution of the drugs. He says, didn't Mia go to work for Madonna? That's how people use personal assistants. I don't expect we're going to see Beyonce in CVS. The assistant buy the assistants buy Astroglide. It's not what the company is doing. This is not a racketeering act. I'm going to Rico. I think that's what you were. Let me see what you stated. Oh, it was something else. But yeah, so he's right. Like they act like so surprised about what these assistants did for Puffy. That's normal. Look at Shaq's assistant. Shaq's assistant bought his Rams back when he was in, Miami. So like that's what your assistants do. You can't, he sent his people to shop for him in the mall. You can't, these people can't just walk through the mall and shop and do these things. That's what your personal assistants are for. Right? He should have just bought the whole, right. He should have said it was going to get to this point. That was in 2016. I think he was like, let me buy that footage. pay these people. Okay, and he was probably like, okay, but I'm sure if he would have known that one day this would resurface. Yeah, my gosh, you're right. All right, so there's no evidence of possession with intent to distribute drugs. David James said he's in San Tropez. He's asked to get an 8 ball of cane. I asked him anything to do with Sean Combs. He said no. He kept it from him. Why would he hide it? It's people in creative fields doing what people in creative fields do. It's not racketeering. I'm going to talk about Cassie. Can you sex traffic your girlfriend? Maybe if you push them into prostitution, but he's not making money from it. That's the key right there. Puffy is not making money from this stuff. So that's where they have to throw that what is it? The trafficking? No, the racketeering and the racketeering. All right, so he says Jane has some texts that are very anti-hotel night. Cassie, she doesn't. People are in love. People are having sex. Let's say your partner wants to do something and you don't. Where does that land? Cassie wanted this, including to be close. It's like my wife is from Los Angeles. I hated LA. Now I love Los Angeles. Sorry, that's how it happens. Cassie, she is a beautiful, sexy person. She was with Michael B. Jordan, like the most handsome man in the world. She is not messing around, and that's how this is coming in. So I'm not just stopping in the middle of a sentence. That's how it's coming in. You said he's getting his kicks, and ain't that better than money? What do you mean his kicks? Like his fantasies fulfilled and stuff? I'm sure Michael B. Jordan did not want his name to come up. That his name came out, I think, the second day of the trial. That was so funny. It was like, wait, how did my name come up? He probably don't even remember that. Like, what the world? Because that was before Michael B. Jordan, before we even knew of Michael B. Jordan. Oh, yeah, his fetishes, and ain't that better than money? You know? I don't know. I guess to him, I guess to him it was. Mike B. Jordan, weak link, bust the chain. So then he says, Cassie is not clutching her pearls. This is how I am intimate with the man I love. You could come to love that. You want to be close. Yesterday they said some she might have wanted. They said some she might have wanted. Oh, they said Canis, Daniel Phillips, and Intercontinental. If she liked 75, can number 76 be sex trafficking? Talk about going 0 to 60. Nothing said to him. She doesn't want to even do these again. Mr. Donaldson cross-examined Daniel Phillip. Let's look at the text. Sean asked, are you horny? She says, yes. Talks about fantasies. That is their lifestyle. She writes, I'm not going to do many of these. My mother would, blank, blank, blank. She writes, my private is so hot. They are doing through this together. They are doing through this together. I'm going to play part of the video. Okay, so he's about to play part of the video that I heard that the jurors were tired of seeing all these sexual videos about all this sexual talk. In this intercontinental video, it's more likely than not it is Combs' phone. Here she is. I'm not going to show you him throwing her down. You've seen it. I'm not hiding it from you. Now there's a phone. I want to see what point he's about to get to with this. At least he didn't skip over the whole thing. You know what I'm saying? Her mama would. It didn't, it didn't say. I was wanting to see what he was saying too, but it didn't say what he said the mama would. She was probably, because it's just blank, I'm assuming that she said, she was saying, I'm not going to do too many of these. My mama would probably, and then this is just assumptive, me being assumptive, would, be so upset with me or be so ashamed of me, I'm assuming. Or since he's saying that is their lifestyle, she writes, I'm not going to do many of these. My mother, yeah, I'm thinking if you say, I'm not going to do many of these, my mother would not approve of this stuff. Or She would be surprised, shocked out of herself if I was doing this, if she found, I'm assuming. All right, so what is he saying about this phone? Um, I don't think she said. Let me see what she's. Let's read it exactly of how he said it. Um, so he says, she says yes. So when Puppy asks, "Are you horny?" She says yes. Talks about fantasies. That is their lifestyle. That's what Mark says. That is their lifestyle. And then he says, she writes, "I'm not going to do many of these. My mother would," and it's just blank. She writes, "My blank is hot. They are doing through this together. I'm going to play part of the video." Right. Oh, not because, let me see, my mom would enjoy this because she said, but, no, she didn't say but. She just says, "My mother would. I'm not going to do many of these. My mother would," which that doesn't matter really. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I didn't really catch it either. It's hard to, unless you're hearing it from someone's mouth, it's kind of hard to, I guess, interpret every word, especially when the sentence is not, when it's cut off like that. So we can only assume what the rest of that statement is. And based on, "I'm not going to do many of these, my mother would," and then from there, "my blank is hot." It's more likely than not, it is Combs' phone. Now there's a phone. So we're waiting on what he's saying about the phone part. Okay. They didn't give us the rest of that. Now there's a phone, and then it jumps from that to, "and here now a well-known man sitting in his towel and socks. Looks like Cassie is saying, 'You're being a fool. Go back to the room. Look at it.'" It looks to me like she says, "Go back to the fucking room. There's nothing scary in the room." Then I hope he's bringing this up for something that he's about to just like bam the jury with, because whew, this is like the biggest thing. You know what I'm saying? Why would they block that out? You know? Why would they block a lot of, they blocked a lot of stuff out. And you know what? That could have something to do with the author of who's disseminating this information to us. Some stuff, that's why I say it's hard to keep to follow as, us, because really, like, people can disseminate information how they want. They can kind of be persuasive in their own way. I don't know why that wouldn't, because that is something that I would have wanted to know. What is the end of that sentence? And then also with this phone, now there's a phone, and then everything else is cut off. And then it jumps from that to um and here now, a well-known man sitting in his towel and socks looks like Cassie is saying, "You're being a fool, go back to the room." Look at it. It looks to me like she says, "Go back to the blanking room. There's nothing scary in the room then." Right, I wouldn't have. Well, see, that what I'm thinking is that the author of what I'm reading left it out. I don't think that it was left out in the closing. So I think Mark probably said the rest of what he's saying, but I think that we just didn't get to we just don't know what the rest of it was, because whomever wrote this didn't want us to know the rest of that statement for whatever reason. Let me see if this other one had it in here, which this one is not as detailed as that one, so I probably not. Um, mm-mm. Now, this one did bring up some points about in the text, in the messages between those two about the freak offs, that there was nothing that would say to him that she was doing something against her will, or that she felt like she was doing something against her will. Okay, so, and here's now a well-known man. Okay, so we already discussed that. I really wanted to know what he was about to say about the phone part, but we don't know. Leave that behind, right? Don't bring it up. But he's got to touch it, because if they don't bring it up, then it just leaves them like, yeah, they didn't bring up that, So you got to bring it. You got to bring up everything, because we got to. They have to persuade, they got to be persuasive, and the only way to be persuasive is to sound like you're being as honest as you can. So you can't just jump over and skip the biggest thing that's out there. That's like, you can't do that. Got to bring it out. Got to face it head on. There's nothing scary in the room. Then, 5 days later, he texts, "I'm so sorry." She replies, LOL. I was just listening to sorry, and then it skips into they are obviously getting over it. Okay, so the lawyer, I mean the Mark, he that okay, so the way that it reads, the way that this is reading, so after that subject that we were talking about what she was saying about the mom, her mother would, so he just skipped over that. You're right. So I don't know why he didn't finish that statement. But because again, here he's saying, she said in response to when he said he was sorry, she says, LOL, I was just listening to sorry. He didn't finish that, what she said after that. Then he gives his own um, interpretation. He says they are obviously getting over it. And then he says, Cassie writes to Sean, how do I know if the drugs are going to be bad or you'll drink too much? This is about the hotel. I wish we had some detail more. I wish I could hear that. I wish I could just hear. I wish we could have at least heard with our own ears the closing arguments. That way everybody can have their own interpretation. You take it for what you have it, I take it for how I see it, and everybody sees, but we're really going off of other people's opinions. Like even with the news stations, all of their updating on the updates, the live updates, is very opinionated. And as you can see, everyone has their own opinion. Everyone's opinion is different. Some say this, and it's not like you can say, most people are thinking this way, and most people, because it's everybody's, you got some this way and some that way. It speaks for itself and it doesn't prove Rico. Yeah. The video definitely speaks for itself. I think the prosecution with the video, I think their thing about the video was how they're trying to use that to show that she was being forced to do whatever, because that was supposedly a freak off situation. So I think that's why they were so gun ho about the video. And then he says, this Mark says, what was so scary in the room? There was nothing scary about the room. I don't know.